Yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's Stormy B Man, and I am back, welcoming you to another Kung Fu Film Focus for this Thursday, July 14th, 2022. And we are going over the film from 1972 called Sacred Knives of Vengeance, aka The Killer, another bad Shaw Brothers production from the basher age of Kung Fu. For those of you who do not understand the term basher when it comes to describing a Kung Fu film, that's a term that is out of the UK, primarily from the era of when Kung Fu films were all about fist and foot, because we went through a phase of sword epics initially with the martial art films and samurai films from the 50s and 60s. And as the 70s came into order, the basher was invented. That's when the hand-to-hand combat started, and another term in the Western world, they called it the swingy arm style, because the guys would throw their arms about and kick with reckless abandon in the action portions of these films. This is something that really took Western audiences by storm, because they were accustomed to the old barroom brawl type of matches and occasionally a gunshot fired here and there in action films. So to see this type of action on the screen for the first time, Western audiences were just taken aback. And as the choreography for these films got better, people got a little bit more interested in these films. So there's a lot to be said about the basher. And this is one of the classics
it's actually one of the first films that I saw as a small kid when my dad used to take me to the theaters almost every weekend to see something, usually the drive-in, and every once in a while we would hit the theaters. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of great times, and it's something that is really burned into my memories because it was a time of bonding in a sense, and it was a time of just being introduced to something totally new. Martial art films with the actors performing these miraculous feats of jumping 30 to 40 feet up in the air and being stabbed with weapons and things of that nature, and still fighting off armies before succumbing to their wounds. All of the over-the-top action that you see in today's films by Marvel and DC, huh? It was something that I really enjoyed at the time. And, you know, this show is a way of bringing that all back, sharing those experiences with you, and going over it once again for those who may be being introduced to these films for the first time. So sit back and enjoy as we come to you and we talk about Sacred Knives of Vengeance. I want to say welcome to everybody out there. Smash that like button as you come in. We've already had a couple of people appear in the chat there. We got Yahweh Smoke out there who joined as a member. Appreciate that, Yahweh. And he also gave a super chat donation. Want to say thank you for that, Yahweh. Welcome. You've always been welcome here, and I hope you enjoy being a member of the channel. T-Berry's in the house saying, yes, sir. One of my favorite segments, Kung Fu, with those channel emojis. You always get on Stormy's good side when you display those channel emojis like that. Much appreciation to you, T-Berry. Salute to you. Geo James Khalil is out there saying, salute, Sensei. Salute to you as well. And Yahweh saying, I had to start it again, Stormy, but as usual, respect to the Sensei. I understand, brother. I understand. T-Berry is also out there in that super chat. Appreciate you, T-Berry. He says, peace, Stormy B, man. Love the show, man. I'm glad to hear that, brother. I'm glad. You know, you can always feel free to share the content, because here we talk about Kung Fu films. I know there's a ton of Kung Fu film clubs on Facebook and enthusiasts. There's a lot of forums out there that love the Kung Fu films, but I've been trying to get people to share the content. And, you know, I've done it myself, but it's like, it's nice when it's coming from different sources, because when it's coming from different sources, it makes people say, hey, I've seen this before. Maybe I should take a peek and see what's going on. It seems to be getting a little popular, huh? So with that being said, you know what to do. Get on out there and share the content, man. Tell anybody who you can about Kung Fu Film Focus right here on the Stormy B Man channel. Yes, sir. Now, this film, Sacred Knives of Vengeance, is from 1972. It's a Shaw Brothers production, and it's one of their films that during that era where they were discovering that they were going to throw their hats in the arena of martial arts and show themselves to be basher friendly. This film starred Chen Han and Sung Hwa in the leading roles of the two brothers who came up together, and they had a sister with them played by Wang Ping. And Wang Ping, she's known for being in the films with David Chang, Tai Lung, also Wang Yu, and she's a famous actress from the Shaw Brothers era back in that time. And this is the kind of thing that you like to see when these films are consistent with the actors and actresses. They perform at a certain level and they bring a certain quality to these productions. So, you know, as I said, an actor like Chen Han, he is known as a veteran performer from the Shaw Brothers era, and Sung-Hwa, who was also a veteran of that era, along with Wang Ping. Wang Ping was a beautiful lady who always played that soft-hearted role in the Shaw Brothers films that she appeared in. But the heroes usually looked out after her as a big brother role, or sometimes a boyfriend or something like that. She was always the damsel in distress, and she played her roles very well. And if you go back and you watch the older Shaw Brothers films from like 1970 to 1974, you'll see her in a lot of the productions. Very famous actress from the time. We got William, old school artist, out there in the chat. What's good with you, William? And then Yahweh is saying hashtag the sensei. Yeah, that's right, man. You can hashtag me as the sensei when you share the content out there. But getting back to Sacred Knives of Vengeance, it had a Western title, Sacred Knives of Vengeance, but originally when released in Hong Kong, it was released as The Killer, And the killer reference here revolved around Sung-Hwa's character, who, as they grew up in a circus troupe as young kids, the trio, they practiced throwing knives with expertise. And as part of that circus and opera troupe, that was their specialty. And as this film picks up, Sung-Hwa is a traveler coming back to a town where he hasn't been in over 10 years. He had left as Chen Han and Wang Ping remained behind because he was that exploring type nature character. He finds out when he returns to town that bandits have taken over the town, okay? And there's a faction of bandits and a faction of guys who are fighting against the bandits. And as these characters play out in the film, he gets caught up in the center of things, especially when one of the villains, who is a part of the bad guy trope, Chung Nan, who is famous for playing dastardly types in these old kung fu films, you know, he finds out about Sung-Hwa being great at throwing knives. And he was like, man, you know, if we could get this guy to work for us, it'll help push us over the edge against that gang that's warring against us, Similar to Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name in For a Few Dollars More. But this is the thing. A lot of these films would steal elements of Western films. And it was okay because when they would put their spin on things, it gave something fresh to the storytelling. And in this case, you see they added a female who was a part of the two brothers, okay? So that would create a dynamic of maybe the brothers will fight over the girl. Well, it wasn't so much of fighting over the girl as it was fighting each other on the side of the law and opposite the law, because Chen Han's character in Sung-Hwa's time of leaving had become an inspector. So he was like a detective of the police, the po-po. And that's what he did. And he was in there trying to investigate these gangs and what they were doing, the robbing, pillaging, and also peddling opium and drugs. So yes, even during the early 70s, opium and drugs was a part of what was going on and caused a lot of fights. And you could see that the cast was rounded out by other players like Ching Lu, who was known for playing in films opposite Wang Yu a lot during this particular era, from the mid to late 60s on into the early 70s. Ching Lu is a definite familiar face amongst Shaw brothers. Now, another person of note was Yu Chi-hing. Yu Chi-hing was a veteran actor who also played in these films. He usually played an old master or some kind of older thug or mob boss or something like that. And in this film, he's actually playing against type, because typically a baddie. In this film, he was actually on the team of good guys, ran a martial school that was trying to take down the drug dealers. But he was having difficulty because the drug dealers had a martial arts school as well, and these guys were just battling back and forth, back and forth. So that was one of the elements of the film, that you kind of couldn't figure out who was the good guys and who was the bad guys. And Sung Hwa got caught up in the midst of all of this. Also, someone making an appearance late in the film is veteran Shaw Brothers actor Ku Feng, who shows up in the last 10 minutes of the film, maybe 15 minutes of the film, as a Japanese baddie. Where he came from, why was he there, and everything, who knows? It's a Hong Kong kung fu film. Scripts sometimes have no description, and this was no different. He just showed up in Japanese attire to take on the two brothers in the dramatic end fight. One of my favorites also is an actor by the name of Wang Kuang-yu, who you could also see during this era in a lot of Shaw Brothers films, usually as a sidekick, a bad guy, a stunt man. He was in this film as well, actually worked for the baddies in their martial arts dojo. So Sung Hwa pays a visit to these guys' dojo after being heavily influenced by Ching Nan to go in and try to help him take down the bad guys, when Ching Nan was really one of the bad guys, the most lethal of the bad guys, and he was always setting people against one another. So Inspector Ma, played by Chen Han, had his work cut out for him. Absolutely, man. And if all of that takes you on a whirlwind spin about what was going on with this film, don't worry about it, because that's exactly how these films were back in the day. And you just knew the goodies from the baddies, usually according to their attire. The good guys typically wore lighter colored clothing. The bad guys wore darker colored clothing. Even though it was the traditional Chinese garb, that's how you could make it out. And Sung Hwa, his character, always wore white in this film. And his brother, Chen Han, he played the inspector. He wore a darker garb for his role. This film was directed by veteran Hong Kong director Kor Yuen. Now, Kor Yuen was a prolific director at the time. He did a lot of sword epics and films that were based on the old Kulong novels. And he made his name making these type of films. This was a lot like some of his sword epics, but without the swords. This time they were hand to hand, outside of Sung Hwa's knives, which are the sacred knives of vengeance from the title. Now, also talking about this film, there are numerous action scenes, and the fight choreography was done by the Yuen brothers, Yuen Chengyan and Yuen Wu-ping. The two brothers, sons of Simon Yuen, helped this film tremendously with their action choreography, which at this stage in 1972 was very crude, but they were inventors. A lot of trampoline leaps and crashing through walls, sets, going through bricks and things of that nature to heighten the action, and lots of blood. Guys would get punched and the blood would go splattering. This was something that was new to Hong Kong audiences at the time, and when they found a way to make blood splatter, Run Run Shaw said, make it buckets, huh? And that's what they did. They made certain that the blood flowed in these films. The release date of The Killer, aka Sacred Knives of Vengeance, the film was released in August of 1972, August 1st of 1972, and again, a run-of-the-mill Shaw Brothers production. Lots of people saw this film and just enjoyed the over-the-top action, as did we in America. The film came to the U.S., I want to say, in late 1973, along with a batch of other Shaw Brothers titles like Seven Blows of the Dragon, Vengeance, Blood Brothers, and so forth. Those were the type of films that were released in the early 70s in the U.S. during the first big Kung Fu, what they called the Kung Fu boom. The Kung Fu boom was the explosion of Asian films being released in the U.S. after Richard Nixon and Mao Zedong opened up trade and everything between the U.S. and China and everything. The Hong Kong films were included in this, and that's how the big boom of Kung Fu films, the deluge, as you would say, happened, and films haven't been the same since. So I want to say welcome to, we got Winston Lee out there. What's good with you, Winston? He says peace, big bro Stormy, and everyone in the chat. KG84 in the building saying salute Sensei and chat family. And Yahweh says late night Kung Fu knowledge, priceless. I appreciate that, man. But you know, films like Sacred Knives of Vengeance, it's not the best Shaw Brothers film, nowhere near, but it's entertaining, man. This film is so entertaining, and I'm going to read to you a couple of reviews that are out here on the internet about this film, and one is really kind of a drudging review of the film. The other is more positive because it's from someone who really understood the genre. The reception of this review by Tom Milne of the Monthly Film Bulletin, he reviewed a dubbed version of this film, and Milne found the film to be a rather tired offering from the Hong Kong conveyor belt, while noting the film begins well enough with the hero arriving in town to confound one and all with his dazzling display of contaming karate chops and kangaroo hops. See, here it is, a reviewer making fun of the martial art film. It's clearly someone who didn't understand what was going on. And I don't know when this particular reception of the film was written, but I would like to hear an updated version from this particular author of these comments. It goes on to say, it also ends well with the last-minute intervention of a genuine Japanese samurai, heralded by a mysterious sound in an apparently empty house as something falls, and one of the panels of a screen topple over to reveal him in full regalia, ready to challenge the heroes to the only fight in the film staged with any style or imagination. He's talking about Ku Fing showing up in the third act of the film toward the end of the film to take on Sung Hwa and Chen Han. Milne concluded that the film gets bogged down in endless, drearily identical fights and a plot which labors through its triangular complex of love and friendship. Spoken like a person who really has no understanding of martial art films. And that's okay, because again, most of the Western media, when they saw these films or even had to review them, they found them laughable. They found the dubbing poor. They had a lot of complaints about these films, and they always gave them low ratings. Some of these films will go on to become cult classics, and some of those reviewers would soften their edges a bit when they look back in reflection. But I'll tell you something about these films. They were every bit as good as any spaghetti western. The only thing is the dubbing was terrible. Now, for those who would have got a chance to see these films with their subtitles, the original Mandarin subtitles, you could enjoy the film a lot better. But it's also difficult for those who are not accustomed to reviewing films and watching the action on screen and having to follow subtitles on the screen. That's why I'm glad nowadays we have what's called simplified subs, where they find the quickest way to express what's being stated, and it appears on the screen with not as much information, but a condensed manner of explaining what's being said and communicated. So there have been some changes in this whole situation, but a lot of it goes toward, people like myself and like some of you out there who like to review these films, and we state what we like about them, what we don't like, and some of the studios have heard our complaints and they have made the proper adjustments. So you have to take your hat off to them for that. Tremendous amount of work goes into dubbing and things of that nature, but translating subtitles and everything for your better enjoyment of a product is the way to go. Fletch Kelman is out there saying, "Hey Stormy, I'm lucky since I just got out of the lab and have time to hang out here." Hell yeah. Hey, that's what's good, Fletch. I'm glad you have joined and tuned in for this particular episode. We're talking about The Killer, aka Sacred Knives of Vengeance from 1972. What I consider a Shaw classic, a Shaw Basher classic. This film is right up there with the Chinese Boxer, as far as I'm concerned, which was Shaw's first basher, directed and written by Jimmy Wong Yu, the Chinese Boxer, which I have reviewed already. If you guys haven't had a chance to check out my Kung Fu film focus regarding the Chinese Boxer, what you waiting on? Go on into the archives and pull that one up. Yeah. Fletch says, super happy to join you guys and gals, by the way. This is a T-Lung/David. Is this a T-Lung/David Chang film? No, it's not, Fletch. He says, I think I remember this one. Whatever the case, I know I'll love it. This is Sung Hwa and Chen Han, two other veteran Shaw brothers. These guys were role players and played in a lot of Shaw Brothers productions. As a matter of fact, I was going to read off some names for these gentlemen as we talk about their careers. Chen Han, the veteran actor, he starred in over 53 films, and his career in film and behind the camera, because he directed some as well, stems from 1959 to 2004. He was born December 4th, 1938 in China. Okay, and Chen Han has played a number of roles, but he is famous for marrying Shaw actress who was very popular, Ivy Ling Bo, and he had a 13-year career at Shaw Brothers where he made around 20 films with the company. Most of them were Mandarin classics, okay? And then he also directed a couple of films, and he went on to do Taiwan to finish his career up and film business. So Chin Han was a veteran guy. Yeah, so very well known in Hong Kong and respected. Now Sung Hwa, on the other hand, was the type of actor. He would play in action films, he would play in dramas, he would play in comedies. He played in a lot of films. He played in 94 films himself as an actor, and his filmography spanned it from 1969 to 2003. And he was born April 2nd, 1944. Now, the type of films that he was known and noted for were, one of his most famous film was The Bastard. Now that, if you haven't seen that, and that's a film I will be doing a review on, just haven't gotten around to it yet. But Sung Hwa starred in the leading role of The Bastard. It was a great film, and he was so good in that film. Just a lot of, how can you say? It was a lot of. He was playing a guy who was naive, and he had to learn a lot of lessons really fast in that film. But he also starred in films such as Sorrow of the Gentry and Killer Klans. And Killer Klans was also considered top directors. Choi Yuen, it was one of his most significant films. And Sung Hwa was a part of that. But I'll tell you, this is something about these type of movies. When you see these people in just one movie, or you might recognize a familiar face from a different production, when you start looking at their body of work, you'll kind of see like certain guys were cast in certain roles because of what they brought to the screen. So that's one of the things that you could always take note about. And this is why I try to give you a little bit of background on the actors and actresses as we talk about them. Let's see. We had another super chat there from KG84 in the building. He says, something for the collection plate, Sensei. Hey, KG84, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for your super chat and your support of the show and the channel, man. We really appreciate it. Let's see. William says, Stormy B, man, I used to watch some of the films back in the day at the drive-in theater. That's what I was saying as I opened the show, William. I said that my dad used to take me almost every weekend, if not at least a minimum of twice a month, to the drive-in to see these films. And boy, they were popular. The drive-in would be filled with people watching these old bashers, man. I love them. I just watched this particular film maybe about 2 months ago when I realized that I wanted to do a review of it. And I still get the same feeling every time I watch it, man. It's just a hokey good time, you know, in these old martial art films, man. Brother Code is out there saying, salute Stormy B, man. Salute to you. Fletch is saying R.I.P. to Jimmy Wong Yu. Yes, sir. Let's see. Brother Code says, always love a good Shaw Brothers film. That's right, Brother Code. Shaw Brothers were churning them out too, man. They have something like over almost 900 films from their catalog that are primarily sword and martial arts. A few of them were operatic films. A few of them were comedies or like dramas or something like that. But man, the film studio that was Shaw's, it was amazing what they did. They should be in the Guinness Book of World Records for some of their accomplishments. And Run Shaw ran that studio like, I mean, he really went beyond what the MGM studios and the old Universal Studios from Hollywood, California did back in the early 30s and 40s, man. So Run Shaw really ran his studio. Let's see, we got Jason out there says they're supposed to be remaking this movie. Okay, I haven't heard anything about that, Jason, and I usually have my ear pretty close to the ground. William says, Yahweh Smoke, absolutely, bro. The old drive-in theaters were the best back in the day. Absolutely. I agree with William. Best way to watch these films, too. On a giant screen outdoor in the summertime. Tune in your radio to a certain dial to get that speaker going for the sounds. And before tuning your radio to a certain station or frequency, they used to have the old speakers that you hang from the window of your car. You remember that, William? These guys don't know what they miss, man. They have no idea, right? Tell them, will you? Yeah, Yahweh Smoke says, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over. Yahweh says, man, I was born in the wrong era. Yes, you were. William says, Yahweh, imagine sitting in your own car watching the movie with no disturbance. That's right, man. It was great, right, William? A great time that we had during those times. Salute to Champion Heart out there in that super chat. He says, salute to Sensei Stormy B-Man and my brothers in the chat. Salute to you as well there, Champion Heart, and thank you so much for your super chat donation, man. We really appreciate that because we try our best here with the Kung Fu Film Focus. I don't produce this show every week, but there's enough films for me to do a show every week, but I wouldn't be able to get my all boxing content and some of the other things I do in if I did it that frequently. But I try to make you guys miss it a little bit, so when I do it, you come in like you're doing this evening. And I really appreciate your support, man. I truly do, from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. Fletch Kellerman says, Yahweh, no, you weren't. Think about it. We can catch these movies anytime, anywhere now, sure. It would have been nice at a theater back then, but we can influence a new generation now. Listen, all I can do is recommend, but I'm going to tell you, Fletch, you're absolutely wrong about that. There was nothing like catching these films for the first time, because you have to understand that this was something new to Western culture. To be introduced to Kung Fu films, people didn't even know what Kung Fu was back in 1972, Fletch, unless they had managed to tune into episodes of The Green Hornet, where Bruce Lee, along with Van Williams, were playing type against Batman and Robin, and Kato was performing Kung Fu. And a lot of people at that time didn't know what it was. Bruce Lee actually introduced this to Western audiences on that television show. So, not knowing what Kung Fu was, to see these films, the hokey action and people flying through the air and all of that with martial prowess, it was something strange to a lot of people. It was like fantastical, maniacal, disastrous action. And people were like, what the hell is this? I got to go see another one. It was like crazy. It's hard to understand now because basically in any film, you're watching martial arts and fight scenes and stuff. Back then, it was not like that. A punch was a simple punch. You wind it up like John Wayne and launch it to the other guy's jaw, and you fight and you break a glass over a guy's head or something. Very rare did the feet come off the floor unless somebody was knocking you off of your feet. But when these films came to America, it gave audiences something totally different to look at. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand that that's how that worked back in that time. It was something totally different, man. Totally different. And The Killer, a.k.a. Sacred Knives of Vengeance, it brought something totally different to the audiences, man. People just, again, this was during a time when you just didn't see this kind of stuff. It was all fresh for the first time. Can you guys imagine, like, when you saw the first Avengers film, right? How you felt with the first Avengers film, or the first Christopher Nolan Batman film, or something like that. this is equivalent to that, but that wasn't as shocking because we knew Batman in the comics and stuff like that. We knew the Avengers in the comics, but we didn't know anything about Kung Fu back then. We used to laugh at how these guys dressed in these little cotton robes and stuff with the little soft slipper shoes on and stuff. We were like, look at that, this guy's, you know, we would laugh at it. We made fun of it because it wasn't our culture. It wasn't from the US. It wasn't from the West. So to see those kind of things happen on the screen back then, it was like entertaining. And as you saw it, you know, it was like really weird. And I'll tell you something. There was an audience of people who took to the Asian women. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, look at her. She's so cute or whatever, because they were some small and petite people and stuff like that. But this is how people looked at that. And it was like really weird. You know, my crush was Angela Mao. You know, when she did her films like, you know, Lady Whirlwind and Hapkido and all of those films, it was like, look at that lady, that little lady kicking butt. You know what I'm saying? So I just enjoyed all of that stuff, man. Yeah. Let me see. Fletch says, I hope one day soon we can go through some of the Goldick films financed by Alex Gow. Great indie classics from that company. Duel of the Seven Tigers for one, many others. Absolutely, Fletch. Duel of the Seven Tigers is one of my favorites. Philip Kofei in there, along with Han Yin Kit and so many others, you know. Just Cliff Lock. Great film. And I do all Kung Fu films, man. It's just that I don't get a chance to do the shows as much because there hasn't been enough of a demand for me to produce more of these shows, but I can do them. I know of them. I have almost all of them in my collection at some point, whether it's on VHS, whether it's DVD, and now Blu-ray. So my collection is vast, and I'm very much aware of a lot of the performers. And I love this, you know what I mean? But there's got to be the demand. Sometimes when I do these shows, like tonight, we had 10 people in here steady, but we've got 25 likes. So some people just stop by to hit the like button, and that's fine. But it's really nice when you stop by and you hang with Stormy to get this knowledge of these wonderful films, because there's a story behind all of this. You know, this is a thing that was introduced to our culture that a lot of people weren't even aware of, man. You know what I mean? So to be able to sit down and talk about these films, it means a lot. I have friends out here who work behind the scenes on some of this stuff. And, you know, I've asked them to come on with me and stuff. And it's like they're busy doing other things, but at the same time, they want to profess that they like it. They love this, you know. Well, where are you? Show that love and support, man. Because this is what it's all about. You know, if you really love it like I do, I come out here and talk for an hour. I do these shows and then I'm out. But it's like, you know, you can't twist people's arms. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. William says, oh, yeah, the old window speaker. I definitely remember. Jason says, we had drive-in movies a few years ago in my city, but clowns got it shut down. Yeah, that's what happens, man. You have to shut the clowns down. That's what happens. You really, you know, that's what you should go hard against. The people who are trying to destroy the good things that you're able to enjoy. That's what you have to do. Yeah, Champion Heart says, I love watching some of these movies in the drive-in. Wonderful memories. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And at the drive-in, you could bring your own food, or you stop at a restaurant and bring it to the place with you. You know, we used to, back in the early 70s, you know, people had the big old cars with the big trunks, the Deuce 225 and all of that. You could put a couple of people in the trunk and you only pay for who's sitting in the car. And then you get back there where the theater screen is and everybody get out the trunk. You got like 8 people. I'm telling you, man, that was something else, man, back in the day. Man, them old big old gas guzzlers, man, used to have them big trunks. and the seats were so wide, the front seat be so wide like a bench, you could sit 4 people in the front seat just like you could in the back. Man, it was crazy back in those times. I loved it, man. Loved it. Yahweh is saying, William says, I used to like the old show with David Carradine. Remember Stormy B. Man? Yeah, I remember the show, but I didn't like it. I hated Kung Fu, man. I hated that show. I really did. Didn't like David Carradine either. I seek water. Get out of here. You know what I mean? Kwai Chang Kane. Every time you have a fight scene, they slow it down in slow motion. He's doing this stuff. And he kicks somebody with them stupid kicks like, he's like, man, that ain't even Kung Fu, man. What the hell is that? And that supposedly was choreographed by veteran martial arts karate man David Chow, who sucked. Huh? He sucked. But they ignored Bruce Lee. Can you believe that? Man, that just tells you that those prejudiced dudes in Hollywood, man, they didn't know what they were doing, man. They had no idea what they were doing. Huh? Yeah. Champion Hart says, don't forget about the series. Kung Fu was an idea stolen from Bruce Lee during that time. Yeah, that's what it is. Champion also says, I love Angela Mao. William says, Stormy B. Man, I had a crush on the twins in the old Godzilla and Mothra movies. Did you, man? Hey, William, I would one of my next shows, I'm going to pull up a picture of them twins and get you all hot and bothered. Yeah, buddy, man. I'm going to get you on that one. You shouldn't have told me that. I'm going to put up a picture for William. Hey, this is for William. Put that picture of the Mothra girls up, them twins. Damon Kennedy says, the legend Stormy B. Not yet, man. I'm still here. You know, legends after they gone. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't gone nowhere yet. Stormy want to hang around a little while, okay? Don't put me to bed yet. Champion Hart says, William, I met Mr. Carradine at O'Hare Airport. I was 8 years old. That dude walked around barefoot in real life. He was high, man. He was always on them drugs. That dude was crazy, man, David Carradine. That's how he went out, too. Being crazy, doing crazy stuff, man. Get out of here, man. Yeah. William says, my father or mother used to stop at Frost Stop and we would pick food on the way to the drive-in theater. Yeah, man. Great times, William. These guys don't know. They talking about, oh, we got it better today. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. We didn't have cell phones back then, and we did just fine. If you wasn't at home, you wasn't at home. The phone would just ring, huh? And then even later when they came up with caller ID, because it's like we used to just unplug the phone when we didn't want to be bothered. Just unplug it, huh? Mom used to unplug the phone and lock it in her room so nobody would use the phone when she and Dad go out or something. It's like, it was simple back then, huh? Yeah, y'all don't have no idea, man. This was the life. You feel me? Yahweh is laughing. Jason says Bruce was mad as hell. Williams is laughing. Champion Hart says they had to show the Kung Fu series fight scenes to make him look good. He wasn't a real Kung Fu guy. No, he wasn't a real Kung Fu guy. That dude was a pothead and let's just say if it was in modern times, he would have been a meth man, huh? That's how David was. David was heavy into the drugs, man. He was so heavy into the drugs, he thought he knew karate in real life, huh? Hadn't taken no lessons or nothing outside of the choreographed scenes that he would fight on those TV shows, man. That dude, he was something else, man. Yeah, man. But hey, I brought something with me on this one here. I want to show you guys. We're late in the show, but I thought I'd push it back to late in the show. But I'm gonna show you you guys this trailer from Sacred Knives of Vengeance, aka The Killer. Original theatrical trailer from 1972. So I hope you guys can enjoy this a little bit. Yahweh says, preach, I'm a simple man with simple morals. I got you on that, Yahweh.
He came as a stranger. Challenging their secrets.
No. None of you will.
Exposing their crimes. Punishing their guilt. With the sacred knives of vengeance.
You've been away for 10 years now. Things have changed a lot. You see, my friend, we have no life here. We're all told what to do.
Why is that?
I have to give out good dough all the time to the Wang Xiantian mob.
But how can they get away with it?
Easily. They take what they want with force.
Well, do they?
You were right, sir. Opium in there. So, burn it. Shake it up.
I wanted to know what this was all about. That's why I let you in. Or you'd be dead right now.
The masterpiece of martial arts, Kung Fu Karate.
After him! Go now and tell him just where he is. This will be the day that he'll die.
The sacred knives of vengeance.
Man, you can't tell me that you ain't ready to run out and watch that movie right now. The Sacred Knives of Vengeance, bro. That's what it is, man. That's what it is. But I'm telling you, you know, a different time, man. A different time. Just some great stuff, man. Sung Hwa is one of my favorite roles of his because this was the first film I ever saw him in, and he was bad in this film. He was jumping. He had more hops than Jordan jumping through the air in this film, man. Yeah, so totally different time, man. Totally different time. Champion Heart says, Stormy B, man, I tell my girls that all the time. Technology has ruined them. Our time growing up was better, Stormy B, man. Yes, sir. We had real childhoods, man. We had a chance to really explore things and become people that our personalities and character were shaped on our culture and our experiences. A total different time, man. A total different time. Jason says, the greatest line in a Kung Fu movie was, kiss my Converse. The second greatest was, your Kung Fu is pretty damn good. I know it's the best. No, that wasn't the greatest line in kung fu films. Not even near it. The greatest line in kung fu film was this line right here. And it was by my brother Jim Kelly when he said, "Bullshit, Mr. Handman." He's like, "Man, you come right out of a comic book." That was the best line in kung fu movie history. That's what it was, man. If you don't know, now you know, huh? Jim Kelly, man. The man with the baddest afro in the USA. I used to yearn to have my afro shaped like Jim Kelly's, man. But my old peanut head, I couldn't get mine shaped like that. But I'll tell you something. Jim Kelly could rock that fro, bro. He could rock that fro. Huh? That was my man, Jim Kelly. Yahweh Smoke says, those trailers were long. I love it. Yeah. Champion Heart says, that's some classic stuff right there. And you know this, man. William says, exactly. We didn't have any cell phones or computers taking our childhood away. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Jason Williams says, we used to have Samurai Sunday on network TV. My brothers and I watched like 5 straight kung fu flicks every Sunday. Yeah, man. That's when it was, you know. Jason is laughing, saying true. And Champion Heart says, I knew you was going to say that, Stormy B, man. R.I.P. to Jim Kelly. There you go, man. That's the best line right there. You get bullshit, Mr. Handman. Man, you come right out of a comic book. That was my man, Jim Kelly. He didn't care. And Into the Dragon, them 2 prejudiced cops that tried to pull him over in the alley, where you going? He's not going to Hawaii. Man, Jim Kelly looked at them dudes, man. That dude pulled out that billy club. He knocked it out his hand. He's like, oh, what do we have here? It was over for him after that. Jim Kelly literally fed them to the dogs, huh? The dirty dogs got fed to the dogs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, buddy. But man, that's what it's all about, man. These kung fu films, just a chance to go back and review and, you know, think about where you were at the time when these films were playing and stuff like that. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. I tell you, I enjoyed it, man. I really enjoyed everything, you know, that went down. These films, everything. I just want to, you know, say thank you guys for tuning in with me this evening, man, because it's nice when I have a little audience to talk to about these films, to reminisce and everything, feed off of your energy here in the chat. You know, had a lot of nice comments here and everything, few super chats. I couldn't ask for better, man. Couldn't ask for better. You guys are great, man. You know, you're great. You know, that's why I do this. I do this for you all. Huh? I do it for you. Because I can just sit back and be watching these films and not talking about them or whatever. But I put these shows together to come out here and share with you guys. Hopefully somebody feels the same about them like I do. You know? That's what it's all about. So, just know, man. Just know. Jason Williams says, blessings, Brother Stormy. I appreciate you. Williams said, it's always a pleasure, Stormy. Hey, man, it's always a pleasure, you know, producing this stuff for you guys, man. You know, it's always a pleasure producing this stuff for you, man. That's right, Jason. It's all love, man. It's all love. I try to do my best, and I'm glad you guys show up for it. Huh? I really do. But we're going to get ready to get on up out of here. I appreciate you again. There's been another Kung Fu Film Focus, man. And this one was the Killer from 1972, aka Sacred Knives of Vengeance, man. And you guys got to know, when I do these shows, you know, I'm not, it's indiscriminate. I go through all the genre. You know, it was mentioned earlier in the chat about the independent films like Duel of the Seven Tigers. That might be my next film that I cover. So I do like to do the films that are the independents too. Matter of fact, I've done a ton of indies thus far, more than Shaw's, because Shaw's just really dominated the market. But some of the independent films are some of the best films that were made as well. They just didn't have the distribution that Shaw's had, because Shaw's played all across throughout Southeast Asia and then even in the Chinatowns here in America. So they dominated the market because Run Run Shaw had the money to do that. But hey, man, it is what it is. But we're going to get on up out of here and let you guys enjoy another bit of the trailer on the way out, man. You know, you can always count on Stormy to do some good stuff for you. So just remember that, and we'll get to cutting. Let's see, wow. Okay. Let's try to get you guys cooking. But thank you so much, man, for you who gave the super chats this evening. I really appreciate you guys. And for anybody catching it on the replay, hey, man, sorry you weren't here from the beginning. This was a good one. We talked about The Killer, a.k.a. Sacred Knives of Vengeance from 1972. Champion Heart says, have you seen the new channel, Cooking with the Champ, LLC? Can I put it in the chat? Champion Heart, at this time, no, sir. Don't put any links in the chat. I haven't had a chance to look into that, but I will be looking into it before I have that type of endorsement. I like to know what I'm endorsing. That's just being straight honest with you. Okay? But I will be looking into that. And then if everything is on the up and up, then I'll say yes, but not at this time. Okay? But we out of here. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace to everybody. Have a safe and pleasant weekend.